why we are talking about breastfeeding, I would just like to highlight this, that recent studies have shown that in India, every year we can save 100,000 children from dying if we are able to do adequate breastfeeding. Then a 34.7 million cases of diarrhea can be prevented. 2.4 million cases of pneumonia. These are, of course, communicable diseases we know, but 40,000 cases of obesity, 87,000 plus cases of diabetes. And then in women, breast cancer and ovarian cancer risk can be prevented, 7,000, 1,700. So all of these can be prevented if breastfeeding is done adequately. So we are contributing to the nation's economy, we are contributing to health and well-being of every individual by promoting and supporting breastfeeding. Now let us look at where we stand and why we are talking to a group of working mothers today. So there's a very important connection right here. So every year there is a National Family Health Survey. Okay, so there's a survey done to collect data about the people population. So it was found that only 4 out of 10 mothers start breastfeeding in the first 1 hour. And then only 6 out of 10 mothers continue exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months of the child's life. Exclusive here means actually only breastfeeding and not giving anything from outside, not even few sips of water. So exclusive breastfeeding is done only by 6 out of 10. And then from 6 to 23 months, when we want the mother to continue breastfeeding even after the baby has completed 6 months of life, and up to 2 years of age, there the figure is only 1 out of 10 mothers. Okay, so this 1 out of 10 mothers could be you and me. And because one of the most important factors that comes in the way of continuing breastfeeding is employment for mothers, right? Of course there are other factors, but one of the most important contributing factors is also employment. So today we are here trying to discuss how as a working mother you are going to be able to continue and also continue breastfeeding, and therefore be able to change this figure and bring about a better statistic. So firstly, I think every mother who walks out of the door of her house when she is going to work, new mother, she carries a lot of baggage. Okay, and that baggage actually seems to be of a lot of guilt. Okay, so a baggage of guilt and worries that we are carrying with us, that uh, oh my god, do I need to still breastfeed my baby, or am I being selfish by going to work? Who is going to take care of my baby in my absence? What are people going to think about me, right? So all of that baggage is taken with the mother. But now today we want to change that baggage from being this, carrying worry with you. Instead, you carry a lot of self-confidence and the assurance that you are doing the best for your baby. Okay, so today we want to change that every mother steps out of the home with a lot of confidence and self-love rather than feeling guilt. So doubts among working mothers, we happen to speak to a lot of working mothers, and then we came up with some common questions. Does my baby really need breast milk after 6 months? How long do I continue breastfeeding and why? What is the harm in offering formula milk? Okay, then what is the problem if I use a bottle for feeding the milk? Will my employer encourage and support breastfeeding? Will my colleagues judge me because I'm coming back to work or not coming back to work? How will my family members manage baby in my absence? So this is what most mothers worry about. So firstly, let's talk about why breastfeeding beyond 6 months. So we said that 6 months we are doing exclusive breastfeeding, and that's why we have the support of the systems now to get a proper maternity leave so that the 6 months are totally covered. Now what after that? So here is a graph which is from a study which shows that, as you can see, this light blue shows what is the calorie covered by breast milk. So as you can see, till the 6 months, the total calorie requirement of the baby is met by breast milk alone. Okay, and after that, from 7 months onwards to age 2, there is a requirement of, I mean, breast milk still meets a lot of requirements, calorie requirements, but then an energy gap is created which needs to be fulfilled with appropriate complementary foods. So what we are trying to highlight here is, in the first year also, even after complementary food starts, 70% of the requirements are going to be met by breast milk. Okay. Then in the second year of life, here we are talking about the second year of life, that is 12 to 24 months, baby will still get 50% of their total nutrition requirements from breast milk. And then in the third year of life, that is 24 months plus, still 30% of the nutrient requirements will be met by breast milk. Only rest through complementary food. So here we have an interesting graph which shows that even in the second year of life, so here is the second year, 12 to 24 months, while the baby must be consuming about 500 ml of breast milk, this breast milk will take care of the baby's energy requirements up to 40%, protein requirements up to 50%, vitamin A up to 76%, vitamin C 98% coming from breast milk, and less for iron. But you see that a large range of nutrients is still being provided by breast milk. And in fact, you'll be surprised to know even nutrients like vitamin B12 and folate, which we are facing large scale deficiency now, they are also provided up to 80 to 90% through mother's milk. And in the second year, beyond the second year also, there is a lot of immunity that the baby gets through mother's milk. Okay, so you can imagine now that the 2-year plus baby is going to be out in the open, like going to school or probably playing with a lot of friends outside, being more outdoors as compared to what they were. So now as they explore outside, they are more prone to infections, and that time this breast milk changes its composition and brings about more and more anti-infective factors for the baby so that they are protected in the external environment. So therefore we say breastfeeding must be continued for 2 years and beyond. Okay. Now, what if we are not convinced yet about giving our milk only? What if we outsource milk? Okay, so what if we don't breastfeed? So what is the harm in giving a formula milk? Firstly, let us understand what is formula milk made of. It is prepared using cow's milk, right? So formula milk is not something I totally made in a lab, but it comes using the cow's milk as a base. We are making the formula milk. Of course, the industry tries to match the formula milk as much as possible to human milk, but it still cannot match the, yeah, it still does not match the composition of directly human milk. Okay. Yeah, let us watch a very interesting video at this point.
Mama is warm, Mama is soft, Mama is mountain like Himalayas. Mama. Mama.
So we see that in nature, every animal feeds the milk of their own mother. So only as humans, we are made to believe that we can outsource milk. But let us understand that, like we said, the formula milk is made from cow's milk. So a cow's baby calf has to mature from 40 kgs to about 400 kgs in 2 years. Okay. But a human baby has the opportunity to grow from 3 kgs to up to 70 kgs in about 20 years. So we have a lot of scope for growing in terms of our physical growth uh, over a period of time, whereas for this animal, the cow, there is only a 2 year period for achieving a maximum full size. So here is an increase in size that's happening through the cow's milk, and for that, the cow's milk has certain amount or quality of protein which is very good for this kind of growth. So as you can look at this section, animal milk, it shows that there is a lot of protein and there is a concentration of casein protein which is good for growth. Now, as opposed to this, human beings are having different growth needs. Like I said, for physical growth, we have a lot of time, but our mental growth, that is our brain growth, happens up to 80%. 80% brain growth is complete till we are 3 years of age. So we have 3 years to complete 80% of our brain growth, and for that, the mother's milk provides the very important essential fats. Okay, the very beneficial essential fatty acids, which are omega-3 fatty acids, and we commonly read about it, DHAs. So DHAs are there now in formula milk also. They are fortified, but from there it's not available to the body, but this is the fat which helps to develop our brain, and that is why mother's milk is very customized to the need of a human baby, and therefore the most ideal. So then outsourcing milk, giving milk from another animal, is likely to increase the population of bad bacteria in our intestine, which you can look at the right side of the graph. The bacteroids and E. coli, these are increasing or remaining stable with formula feeding, but with breastfeeding, these populations keep going down and beneficial bacteria continue to remain high. So then what is important is that breast milk is always going to be customized to the needs. So you'll be amazed to know that breast milk keeps changing, from feed, during a feed also, right? Like in the initial part of the breastfeeding, there is a thin milk which comes, it's called the fore milk, and it's very buttermilk kind of consistency, and that helps to quench the baby's thirst. And in the second half of that same feeding session, you get what is called as the hind milk, which is fat and calorie dense, and that is what helps to satisfy baby's hunger. So within the feed, it changes between day and night. The breast milk composition changes. At night, the mother's milk has a lot of sleep hormone, okay, melatonin, which helps the baby to regulate their sleep-wake cycle. So a night breastfeeding helps the baby to in fact sleep better, helps the mother also to sleep better. So the composition changes based on age of the baby. So what the milk is going to be for a preterm baby versus a baby who's born after 38 weeks versus a baby who is born, who is now 6 months, 1 year. Every time that milk composition keeps changing because it is going to be different needs of the baby. And then colostrum versus mature milk, which is the milk which comes in the initial first 3 days, is different from the milk that comes in the after the 15 days of baby's delivery. So breast milk is highly customized food. Okay. Second thing about breast milk we need to know is that it's a living tissue. So it's very alive. You can look at this diagram, which shows that every cubic millimeter of breast milk contains about 4,000 cells. Okay, so 4,000 cells are there, which are including your neutrophils, macrophages, lymphocytes. These are basically immunity cells, which give us a lot of immunity. In fact, there are stem cells also. So it's very alive. It's absolutely thriving with a lot of nutrients, with lot of bioactive components, as well as lot of healthy microorganisms. Okay, and also breast milk is very intelligent. Okay, and this was shown through COVID times. Okay, so during COVID, yet another important aspect of breast milk came to the forefront, that advantage was understood of breastfeeding even if the mother was suffering from COVID infection. You know how? Because what if the mother was suffering from COVID? She was passing on the antibodies that were made in her body against the infection. The antibodies were passed on to the baby through the breast milk. So that is the beauty of breast milk, that it always gives the best to the baby. So even though this mother was infected, she was asked to continue breastfeeding because she will pass on the antibodies. So automatically this baby is also now vaccinated against COVID naturally by the mother. And they get a lifelong protection, or at least prevention, in terms of not having an intense episode in future. And that's how no vaccines were required for very young babies. Okay, so that's the beauty of breast milk. So can I outsource it? We really don't think so, right? So if formula is like a pill, for example, I have a very good multivitamin. Okay, but what if I tell you this multivitamin only you're going to have in breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then every time, month after month, day after day, you're going to only consume this? So it's a very dull thing, right? After some time you're going to get really bored. But then breast milk is full of flavors of the experience of the mother's touch, her smell, her voice, because of the communication she does, as well as the dynamic flavor of the breast milk based on mother's diet, is what gives child the complete sensory experience that they so desire for an overall growth and development. Okay, so then now again we want to reinforce that if we think that breastfeeding may not be continued after 6 months, what is the disadvantage of not doing it? Firstly, for the mother, or even we can look at what is the protection to the mother by continuing breastfeeding, right? We like to say, I mean, not so that the mother feels guilty about not doing it, but when we say what are the risks of not breastfeeding, then it gives us a more sense of commitment towards it, so that we know that mother can be protected against ovarian cancers, breast cancers, osteoporosis if she continues to breastfeed appropriately, protection against diabetes and heart diseases, which are very common now and among the leading causes of mortality. It also helps the mother to lose weight in the postpartum period. For mental health, it helps, if mother is breastfeeding, she can be protected against postpartum blues, or what we call as the post-delivery depression, right? She will have better self-esteem and she will have more self-confidence. For social well-being, it helps in recovery and rehabilitation of the mother if breastfeeding is continued adequately, and it helps in bonding between mother and baby. Now, when it comes to breasts for the baby, we all are having the intention of having a baby who's going to be free of diseases, so healthy baby, happy baby, right? And a very well-rounded baby, right? A baby who's going to, you are working mothers, right? So you are going to wish and hope that your child is going to grow up to become a person who is again going to be in a setting where they are able to earn a living and also contribute to the society just the way you are doing. So for that, so health wise, you are protecting the child against pneumonias, diarrheas, asthma, allergies, obesity, diabetes, and even cancers such as leukemia. You're protecting them against those by doing breastfeeding adequately. Then, in terms of cognition, you will have a baby who is going to have better motor skills, very high IQ. So, breastfed babies have about 8 to 10 IQ points higher as compared to non breastfed babies. And then there is also likely to be a better neurodevelopment. And as far as social development is concerned, this child may have good attachment, is likely to have good attachment to the mother, is going to be an independent individual, and will also be more comfortable around strangers as well. Okay, so a more courageous, strong, well-rounded individual. And breastfeeding, like I said, is a huge contribution to the nation's economy, growth, ecosystem. So for the ecosystem, as if we do not breastfeed and we use the alternatives, then there is a lot of wastage of water, energy, trees, and plastic. In the process of making formula milk, I must tell you, since we are a group of educated women here, that to make 1 kg or 1 liter of formula milk, about 4,000 liters of water is used. Okay, so that is the amount of water that is used to make 1 liter. So imagine the impact on the ecosystem of using alternatives to breast milk. And this the child is going to have a low emotional quotient, lack of survival skills, or poor human resource, which then affects the nation's growth and economy, because babies who are breastfed are less likely to fall ill. So there is a reduced financial burden on the family and reduction in the overall medical bills as well. Okay, so these are the advantages of continuing breastfeeding. So then, if you desire, the universe will conspire. All right. As we speak to working mothers here today, what we want to let you know is that you have support to continue breastfeeding, because all that we discussed about the need to breastfeed, advantages of breastfeeding, and the disadvantages of using an alternative are well understood, recognized at the level of government, and the important health, public health systems realize the importance, and therefore now there are schemes to support a mother as much as possible to continue breastfeeding. So what is your, so as much as that there was a complete week dedicated to breastfeeding and work, let's make it work. So there was a large scale education on how this mother can be supported to continue breastfeeding while she goes back to work, right? So let's understand the Workplace Maternity Benefit Act 2017. This act was released, and it gives the benefit of a leave of about 32 weeks in the for the first 2 pregnancy. So we say that often mothers like to utilize the 8 weeks prenatally and 26 weeks postnatally. However, we request mothers to use maximum leaves postnatally, because as much time you can spend with your newborn, you get that comfort level and that confidence that now we are both able to manage a certain level of the kind of feeding schedule, eating schedule, and then she's more comfortable in going back to work. If it's beyond 2 kids, then the leave is about 18 weeks only. For civil service, they have a maternity leave of 180 days, and Just to let you know that the act also covers leaves for adoptive mothers or those who have babies through surrogacy. Okay. um, right. Paternity leave. So unfortunately, we don't have any paternity leave for private sector workers, not yet. At least not a state government thing. Some of the, the central government has given civil servants an entitled leave of 15 days for fathers, and similar provisions are made for those who are adopting a child. Okay, so now if you are going to breastfeed while you start work, your employees are required to provide a creche facility. So wherever there are more than 50 women employees, a creche facility inside or within 500-meter radius of the office must be provided. Every mother of a baby less than 15 months old is entitled to 4 fully paid nursing breaks. Okay, so you are entitled to 4 breaks during the day to be able to nurse. Also, of course, this depends on your total duration of work. Considering this is about a 12-hour work schedule, then 4 fully paid nursing breaks are given. The creche guidelines are that one creche should be there for every 30 children, which would include the children from 6 months to 6 years of age. The creche could be either at the workplace or, as I said, within 500-meter of the establishment. One creche worker along with a helper for every 10 children is what the mother can demand and ensure that that setting is there at the creche facility. Now, you may want to opt for work from home. So it depends on the nature of your work, right? So certain mothers, if you have a work project that enables you to work from home, so you can ask for that. Again, this would be a mutual consent or agreement between the employee and employer, but definitely if the nature of work allows, the mother can work from home so that she is able to give enough time for the baby. Right. Now let us look at some of the barriers to breastfeeding at work. Okay, so often what is it that comes to our mind when we are trying to breastfeed? So from an employee perspective, that is from a mother's perspective, she might think that there's going to be a lack of privacy, that I don't have that right kind of space where I can breastfeed my baby. There is not going to be adequate time to be able to do it. A lack of childcare close to the workspace, so that the mother is not comfortable taking the child or is too away, so then she cannot manage. She might think that breastfeeding along with work may get tiring, and she may also think that since after 6 months my supply is going to drop, so therefore I may not be able to. But let me tell you, these are all the myths. The tiredness and low milk supply does not occur, and we will also see as to how the employees can create the right environment. Employers can create the right environment for the mother. So from an employer's perspective, we must also understand that they may have some inhibitions and or they have a lack of knowledge. Firstly, the employer may not understand what is the advantage of breastfeeding. They may not be aware of what are the laws for the mother. They may not be aware of how many women employees are there in the organization and how many out of them are mothers. So then having that awareness is important so that you are able to give the right support. A misconception that a mother who is breastfeeding is likely to be fatigued or she may have poor productivity. Lack of space, so the employer might face a constraint about giving space for the mother to breastfeed or take the breaks for pumping. A lack of sense of responsibility, which is not more that you are not doing it out of intention but maybe out of ignorance about the topic, or understanding that it is not just a mother's personal choice but it also is in the interest of the community or well-being of the human race at large that is at stake over here if the mother is not breastfeeding. And they may be worried about other employees dissatisfaction if the mother takes the breaks or is not there at work for certain important times. So, however, we need to understand that breastfeeding is actually a win-win situation for both employees and employers. And let us look at how. Firstly, as we know that breastfeeding is associated with a long-term good health. As we just saw, it's a long-term good health of mother as well as baby. So this means that there is fewer medical bills and sick leaves because the mother is also taken care of, the baby's health is taken care of. So there's going to be a reduced absenteeism. A skilled and productive human being is you are by breastfeeding you are giving rise to a skilled and productive human being. So we understand as working women that how important it is to be skilled and how important it is to be productive so that you can contribute to the society. So you are facilitating that by breastfeeding. So that is where you should see that in the in a vision that this is going to be beneficial contribution to nation's economy, as we just discussed. For the employer, there's improved retention of experienced employees. So while the employer will support the mother and give her the required facility to continue breastfeeding, they are going to retain employees who are well trained and skilled and experienced. There's going to be fewer or shorter absenteeism because we mentioned that the health of the mother and baby is then well ensured through breastfeeding. Lower healthcare cost, especially if the employers have to provide health insurance and other such benefits, then it is a lower cost for the employer in the long run. Improve loyalty and reduce turnover because you are showing the integrity or support for your employee. Higher job satisfaction and positive company image. So these are the benefits the employers have, and so together continuing to encourage breastfeeding and support breastfeeding is a win-win situation for both. Now let us look at different ways to continue breastfeeding with work. So two ways are there. One is you want to still do direct breastfeeding while you also start work, or you are going to feed expressed breast milk for every missed feed that you're away from the baby. Okay, so both these possibilities are there. Let's look at how. So direct breastfeeding is possible if the mother wants to carry the baby to work. Okay, and this would be possible if the mother knows there's a creche facility around. So carrying the baby to work and taking the required amount of breaks, or having the baby brought to work for feedings, which can also be the case if you have a support system at home to bring the baby during those intervals, or going to the baby for feeding, that is in the creche, or if the home is close by, then she goes and directly breastfeed. So here is a mother who is going to continue to give her milk, but also through direct breastfeeding. But you may also then have the other option of providing express milk for all the missed feedings. So here is the thing that the mother might want to express milk at work during breaks. So if the infant is less than 4 months old, then the mother might require 3 breaks of 20 minutes each in an 8-hour shift. Okay, so we are looking at an 8-hour shift. So less than 4-month infant mother will need to take 3 breaks and do pumping for 20 minutes each. If the infant is 6 months plus, then the mother might need only 2 breaks within the 8 hours where she will do pumping for twice. And if the infant is more than a year old, then she may just need 1 break in 8 hours to do pumping. Okay, and other than this, the mother will also express some milk at home, especially at night, so that she is able to create a stash for the next day and keep that for the infant to feed. Okay, so that is how we will manage the feeding of breast milk, not directly but in the form of expressed milk. So here's what needs to be provided to the mother either for pumping or direct breastfeeding at work. So there is a room which is designated for this. The employer can ensure that the room is well lit, as you can see, and well ventilated. Okay, there needs to be a electric outlet just so that you can plug in the breast pump or anything, and there needs to be a tap with the water, a towel and clean surfaces close by so that you are able to wash hands before expressing or feeding the baby. All right, and just a comfortable place for mother to sit, right? So that's the basic minimum requirement. In addition to this, the employer may want to provide the mother with other facilities such as the like a breastfeeding artwork or some kind of mental relaxing music, but these are extra facilities that the employer may want to give. But other than that, this is basic minimum, just a clean hygienic place with a comfortable sitting, well lit, well ventilated. Yeah, so this needs to be provided at the workplace. Now, how are we going to express? Now, this is an important skill that mothers should have, and I want to discuss, to ensure that mothers are well aware of how to express breast milk. So, two techniques are there. One is expressing using hand, and the second one is using a pump. So pump is, you can use a manual or an electric breast pump, which is shown here. So manual makes use of a piston to create the pressure using the hand, and the electric breast pump has a electric supply to manage. Now, what is the advantages of hand expression? Basically, see, it is a very good technique, efficient at removing milk, but also a technique which prevents infections, because you just need clean hands and you can start expressing. However, with the pumps, we need to be very careful about sterilizing each part of the pump where the milk is going to come in contact with. So proper sterilizing of the pump parts is very important to prevent infections. Also, it may be very tiring to do hand expression, especially when you have requirements of like collecting a decent amount of milk for the next day, whereas with pumping it's a little more faster and less tiring. However, with yeah, so let us once first look at what are going to be the steps used for expression of breast milk using hand expression technique. So before expressing, always the mother will have to follow three steps. First is, you have to ensure you're very, very calm and relaxed when you're going to start expressing milk. Now imagine like you are sitting to eat your meal, okay? And if you are in a very stressed state, okay? So are you going to eat more or you're going to eat less, or is that food going to be nourishing for you? Yeah, so basically we have to be in the right mental state to start expressing milk, which is the food for our baby. So for that, the mother needs to be made to feel calm and relaxed, which would be by way of using a massage or using a warm water compression, such as dipping a napkin in warm water and then giving a massage, or using a warm shower. Basically nothing very hot that can cause burns. Music or meditation sometimes helps mothers to get into a calm, relaxed mode. And then the smell or sight of baby. So if the mother can see the baby while expressing milk, great. If not, then even having some mothers like to carry the baby's clothes along with the pump, sorry, so that they can smell the baby's clothes, and therefore it calms or relaxes the mother and brings about the release of oxytocin, the hormone which is associated with supply of breast milk, and that helps the mother to start expressing. Okay, now then this is followed by a massage. So massaging technique again is varied. Like there are different steps to massage. So using a circular motion with the flat part of the fingers, give in concentric circles, bringing it towards the breast, right? So that is one technique. Second is using a sort of a combing action. Okay, so using combing action of the hands to massage the breast. Then pressing around the breast in a circular motion, giving a compression around the nipple, and then squeezing or basically twisting. Then also using a kneading technique, like, as if we are kneading a dough, so kneading the breast between the palms. These are techniques of the massage which help to relieve any kind of the blockages that may be there in the ducts, or basically mixing up the milk well and causing a good circulation and flow. And finally, expression. So let us look at this video of how to express milk correctly using our hands.
With your thumb and first finger on opposite sides of the breast, press back against the lobules to stimulate the milk to release into the ducts. Then gently compress the thumb and fingers together to move the milk into the ducts and release. Again, press back into the denser breast tissue, compress a little tighter as milk flows almost to the areola, and release. Press back, and with a little tighter compression, the first few drops begin to come.
So as you can see here, the right expression technique is very important to be able to collect enough milk. Now, what if we are using a breast pump? Okay. Of course, we cannot get into absolute details of how you're going to use a breast pump, but using an electric breast pump often helps mothers to speed up the process of expression. One can also use a double side pump so that expression goes faster and you have less time consumed. Sterilization of all the parts of the pump which are going to come in contact with the milk is very important, and also of the safety valves which are present. Okay, so basically ensuring that your pump is absolutely clean and sterilized while you express. I have included this slide on talking about the right size of the flange, which connects to the mother's breast here, because often a lot of pumping mothers complain of chances of injury because of excessive pumping. So I'm not saying that it happens always, but it could happen because of the use of the wrong flange size. So there's a simple technique to measure what is the right flange size, which depends upon the measure of the millimeters of the nipple. Okay, the diameter of the nipple is measured, and based on that, the flange size must be selected. And when the flange attaches to the mother's breast, this is the right way, that the nipple is pulled in, but there is no space left in between. So the skin absolutely touches the walls of the flange, and the nipple is right in the center of the tube of the flange. So this is absolutely the right size, and this is what mothers should be very careful about while choosing their flange for the pump, because expression of breast milk should not be painful no matter what method you're using. Okay, so it should never be painful, and it should be also happen in a good, effective and short time duration. If that's not happening, that means you need some help and guidance regarding that. Now, how am I going to store the milk? Okay, so the mother has decided that yes, I'm going to feed my baby my breast milk, but then if I'm going to express, how do I store it? So simple stainless steel containers are the most hygienic way to store your breast milk. Okay, so simple dabbas, which are like a small capacity stainless steel, they are very easy to clean, they are very easily available, and they are very economical as well. So therefore, stainless steel is the best storage medium. Some others also like to use the plastic bags, which are BPA free, and they can be again used. However, what we want to keep in mind is always store small portions of the breast milk to avoid wastage, because as we will see further that once the milk is frozen and then it is removed for feeding, so the person at home who is going to thaw the milk, or basically bring the milk to room temperature to feed the baby, if large volumes are stored, then once the milk is brought to room temperature, it cannot be stored for very long time. So if it is in small batches, then we only take as much as is required, and then nothing is wasted or very minimal wastage occurs. Then every time the breast milk is stored, the breast milk is expressed, we must make sure to write down the date, time, and amount of stored milk. Okay, so which date you are removing the milk, what was the time of that expression, and what was the amount you are storing. And these stickers must be in waterproofing, because you are going to place the containers in the refrigerator, so you have to be careful about that. But yes, that's how you're going to store the milk with proper labeling. And you're going to use the last milk for, the most first expressed milk first. Okay, so that means the freshest one is going to be kept for last, right? Color and smell of milk may change during storage, but does not mean that the milk has turned bad. Okay, small changes can be expected. That's because the fats in this milk are going to undergo some changes during storage, but it does not make it harmful for the baby. It is still very, very beneficial for the baby. How long can I store breast milk? So at room temperature, you can store breast milk for 4 to 6 hours. Okay, so 4 hours easily outside environment, it's good. In a refrigerator for 4 days. So if it's a double door refrigerator, I'm going to keep the container of milk towards the back side of the fridge, not near the door, because at the door there is going to be fluctuation. Again and again, we open the refrigerator, so there's going to be a temperature fluctuation. So it's good to place the milk at the back side of the fridge for 4 days. It will remain very good. And in the freezer, it remains good for up to 6 months. And in a deep freezer, up to 12 months, the milk remains good and it can be used. Now thawing. So like I said that if you have frozen the milk, okay, while storing it, now how are you going to bring it down to room temperature? So that's thawing, okay. So firstly, as we mentioned, oldest milk should be used first. Thawing the milk can be done by bringing that milk from the freezer into the refrigerator compartment, like the regular compartment, for 24 hours prior to use. Okay, so from freezer you bring it down to the refrigerator. Then you can, if you're not going to use it immediately, you can again from the refrigerator keep it at room temperature for about 2 hours, so that it comes down, the temperature comes to room temperature, and then we are able to feed the milk. If not, if we are in a hurry, then we can warm the milk in a secondary warming ways. That means that you take a container which has warm water, and you place this container containing the milk into that warm water bath. But we do not directly heat the milk by placing it on the gas or by using a microwave. So no direct heating of milk is done, because that leads to loss of majority of the nutrients. So we will use a secondary heating system. That means any kind of a warm bath or a warm space created wherein the container containing the breast milk is placed. Always just swirl the container to mix the contents rather than rigorously trying to stir it. Okay, so no stirring should be done, only swirling, so that the milk gets evenly mixed. And once the milk has been brought from the freezer to the room temperature, this milk, which has been out for about 2 hours or something, should be now discarded, and we should not use it again. So discarding milk, what we mean is that, of course, there is no need to throw away the milk. You can use the milk in multiple ways, like using it for baby's bath or for any skincare or anything like that, because it is very, very precious. It has a lot of nutrients, still, and it can be used in innovative ways for um, a baby or mother. Now, how to feed the milk? Okay, so here's another important thing, that whatever milk we have expressed, how are we going to feed it? So we are not using bottles, we are not using the paladai or bondla. Why are we not using bottles? So bottle is like using a lift instead of using the staircase. Okay. So bottle feeding is a very passive activity, does not require the child to make effort. Any bottle which is inverted, the milk will start flowing. So there is no effort required by the baby. It is a very fast flow and it's not controlled by the baby, and baby needs to open very small mouth to drink from the bottle. So this is what is the disadvantage of bottle feeding. And in the long term, this bottle feeding can lead to confusion for the baby about what is the difference in the texture. Like bottle's texture is very plastic, and then mother's breast is very different. It is soft and effort has to be made to extract milk. It Bottle feeding may lead to obesity in the baby because bottle fed baby tends to drink more milk as compared to breastfed baby. There is a barrier in the bonding between mother and baby because bottle feeding can be done by anyone in the family. And bottle feeding also increases the risk of ear infections because the milk accumulated in the baby's mouth due to bottle feeding can escape into the ear canal and cause infections. So what do we use? We can use simple steel katoris or vatis, or a nifty cup, or a simple katori chammach to feed the express breast milk to baby. And these are most physiological, and babies have the skills to drink from these kind of cups and katoris instead of using bottles. Right? So let's understand how are we going to maintain supply at work by frequently expressing, that is every 3 hours, and then storing the milk either in ice boxes using labeled containers. At home, the mother must try to latch the baby whenever she is at home. So just before going to work and right after returning from work, mother can just quickly wash hands after coming back from work and take baby for feeding. Night nursing will help to maintain supply, and most babies also do night cycling, so they may feed more at night to compensate for the mixed feedings during daytime. Weekends and holidays, mothers can spend some extra time in pumping so that they are able to create the required stash for the week, and mothers must be well rested and relaxed to be able to pump milk and maintain good supply. Now, preparation for workplace, talk to your administration and colleagues about your decision to continue breastfeeding. Maximize the maternity leave to be more after you are delivering. Command your space at work and let the employers know about your rights and the laws which support breastfeeding. Ask for flexibility such as a split shift for you so that you can take the required breastfeeding breaks, longer lunch hours again so that you can go back to baby, or break between the work time as required for breastfeeding. With regards to home front, we need to understand the methods of expressing milk, storing breast milk at home, and feeding that breast milk using a cup or katori, and let the family members understand importance of mother's milk, harms of formula milk, and harm of bottle feeding. So we have often seen this scenario that working mothers at construction sites or at at the different work sites in the rural setting, also on farms and fields, they carry their babies and do the breastfeeding in between or along with work. But now we have to change our perception, because even in the Australian Parliament, this member of Parliament is continuing to breastfeed her baby. So get back to work and embrace the idea of taking baby to work and continue breastfeeding, because it is the best way of ensuring a good health and future for yourself as well as the baby. So with that, we come to the end of this presentation.